I think we got a heck of a shot of winning. We can beat anybody in the world, and I think we're going to win next Sunday.
David Wells has pitched a perfect game. 27 up, 27 down. Baseball immortality for David Wells.
And it's hit deep to left center. Andrew Jones on the run. This one has a chance. Home run! Mike Piazza, and the Knicks lead 3-2. Bates against Joseph. Bates in on goal. Shoots. Metro! Defend Metro! And the Rangers have one more hill to climb, baby!
This is the Cross Island Sports Network, where iconic moments get iconic coverage.
You are listening to the Cross Island Podcast.
Action! Hosted by Lyle Gillen and Errol Marks.
Welcome to a new show of the Cross Island Podcast. My name is Errol Marks. My co-host over there is Lyle Gillian. What's up, Lyle? I haven't seen you in a while.
Going well. Really excited to have a good show tonight.
Well, sunny out. I wanted to enjoy the weather. It's definitely interesting out here, but we've got a lot of stuff to get into. Obviously, we're going to get into what's going on with the New York Knicks. Mikal Bridges from the Nets going to the Knicks. OG Anunoby gets a big time $210,000 contract, $210 million contract. And then we'll get into Haasan Reddick. Is he going to be there day one at training camp? That's been a big story for the New York Jets. And then we'll get into the New York Rangers and Islanders, some of the acquisitions that they've made in the offseason and what they could make moving forward. Is Trouba going to get traded? A lot to get into with the New York Rangers and the New York Islanders. Are you ready, Lyle?
I'm ready.
All right, so why don't we get into it? The New York Knicks make a trade from Mikal Bridges, giving away a ton of draft stock. And I know a lot of Knicks fans sitting here today are probably going crazy. Why are the Knicks giving away draft stock when they're trying to build for the future? But the Knicks have a window now. The Knicks have a chance right now to win a championship with Jalen Brunson, Josh Hart, Dante DiVincenzo, and all the players, OG Anunoby, all these guys that they have, they're in the primes of their careers. They're from the ages of 26 and 30. The oldest player right now is Julius Randle, who just became 30 years old the other day. So the Knicks are right now in position to win. They have a 3-year window. So making a move for Mikal Bridges made a lot of sense for the New York Knicks. They put the Nova players together. This is a team that all 4 guys have won championships, NCAA championships. Jalen Brunson won 2 NCAA titles. So did Mikal Bridges. So did Josh Hart. So did Dante DiVincenzo. These guys have an understanding of how to play together with one another. They played under Jay Wright. Jay Wright's one of the best college coaches we've seen in a very, very long time. And you see what Danny Hurley has done for Connecticut. I believe Nova and Jay Wright did that over the last 10 years, and really the domination. And Jay Wright had nothing to prove. That's why he retired. He had obviously some illness over the last couple of years and stress. I mean, when you're on top of the world and you're recruiting players, it's not like professional basketball. So what the Knicks needed to do is they wanted to add another offensive option, a guy that can defend multiple positions. Mikal Bridges is one of the best in the business. This is a guy, was a top 10 defender in the league last year for the I always say New Jersey, Brooklyn Nets. He averaged about 20 points a game. He averaged about 7 rebounds per game. He's a good defensive player. He can actually defend a lot of the guard positions. So Mikal Bridges is a guy that can transition. Second option for the Knicks. If Julius Randle goes down, you have a second option like Mikal Bridges. There's a lot of questions on some of the moves over the last couple of years. The players out there, I think the New York Knicks have a very good chance now when you're comparing the Celtics, comparing the 76ers with Paul George. This is a team that can compete against the best in the East. I wouldn't be surprised if the Knicks are the number 1 seed next year. But again, The Celtics are built to win for the next couple of years. They won a championship this year with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. They have options. And this is a team that just signed Drew Holiday, just signed White, just signed Porzingis. So this is a team that's going to be out there and the Knicks are going to have to compete with. So I would think right now with the talent that they have from top to bottom, the New York Knicks are the second best team in the East. Mikal Bridges changes the options that they have. And then re-signing OG Anunoby, who Leon Rose's son has really been his agent. Well, he has two agents, but Leon Rose's son is one of his agents. I was not surprised that this was going to go through and that OG was going to get the money. I was surprised that OG took as much as he did when he came out and said that he would take less to stay with the Knicks. But all in all, OG Anunoby, when healthy, is one of the best perimeter defenders in all of basketball. This guy is an all-NBA player defensively. Mikal Bridges, over the last 3 years, has been an all-NBA player. I think he was a second-team all-NBA player. So these guys can play. And now they have options. Dante DiVincenzo could defend. Mikal Bridges could defend. OG Anunoby could defend. Now Josh Hart can defend. This is going to be an all-around two-way team. This was one of the best defenses in the last 2 years in all of the NBA. And now you add Mikal Bridges, it only makes them better.
So here, the biggest hole for the Knicks last year was, in my opinion, their biggest weakness was their strength. Their strength was Jalen Brunson, and if he didn't perform, the Knicks really didn't have much behind him after, especially the playoffs. You saw that when they lost their Pacers. Adding Mikal Bridges, a guy who averaged over 20 points per game last year with the Nets, he can offer some secondary scoring. That's, I think, something they desperately needed, and that's why that's the perfect fit. And we all knew that he was probably going to go there in a couple of years anyway. The Knicks maximize probably his worth right now. And the only thing I have to say is, you look at you mentioned it, Knicks fans are upset that they gave away draft capital, but I think that's stupid. You look at it right now, the Knicks have a window to win. And there's right now the East is very weak. So
it's not weak, it's top heavy. It's very top heavy. The East is very top heavy. Top 5 teams. You got Miami, you got the Celtics, you got the 76ers. If you want to put Milwaukee there, if Milwaukee makes a move here and there, Miami is going to probably get game time. So there are good teams on the top of the East.
They're definitely
very weak on the bottom.
I just don't think
bottom 6.
I don't think that the East is. I think this is their chance to if they add, they can make a run in the East. And if they didn't, then that hurts them. I think this was their opportunity, and it was a good opportunity. And I don't see why you have to be worrying about trading draft capital in 2031 when it's going to be some 11-year-old out there that you're worrying about drafting. I think it's idiotic to be worrying about those draft picks right now.
Most of those picks, if you look at it, the Knicks are going to be on the top of the Eastern Conference. So most of those picks are going to be probably 25, 26.
You don't know that. You don't know that right now. Right now, you don't know that it's going to be there at that point in 7 years.
Hold on. Remember, the Knicks can't trade. It's every other year. So they can't.
Yeah. So they trade 29 and 31.
Yes. So they went from 26, 27, 29, and 31.
So those 29 and 31, those could be good picks. But you know what? You're taking that chance. If the Knicks win a championship, you're okay with giving up those 2 picks in 2029 and 2031. Knicks haven't won in, 50 years? You're okay with giving that up. This is their chance to get where they have to be. This is their chance. They had to add that. It's worth the cost for the opportunity.
I think if you heard what Jalen Brunson said on his show, he didn't think there was any chance that they would land Mikal Bridges. He didn't think that the Nets would ever trade any player to the New York Knicks. The last time the Brooklyn Nets or the New Jersey Nets traded the Knicks a player was in 1983. 1983. So this is Both teams do not like to trade with one another, obviously, because they're both in the same tri-state. I mean, New Jersey, obviously, and now Brooklyn. Now they're both in New York. So it was very surprising that Mikal Bridges was traded to the Knicks. Jalen Brunson was shocked. Josh Hart was shocked. Nobody thought that was going to happen. I didn't think Mikal Bridges was ever going to the Knicks. I did bring it up. Bring it up on the show that the Knicks, I wouldn't be surprised if the Knicks, and this is the problem with basketball. And I've said this many, many times. The players run the league. So if they tell the owners or the GMs that they only they want to play for one team, there's only one option you have to trade for them. I think Mikal Bridges did that with the Brooklyn Nets and said, listen, I don't want to play for anybody else. I want to play for the Knicks. Trade me there. I'm not re-signing with anybody else. And that was the reason why he was traded to the Knicks. It was all because the players
I think that's partially it. And also at the same time, he just had a breakout year. And on top of that, this is when you can maximize his worth. If you wait another year and say he has a down year, you're not going to get back as much. And the Nets are in a position where they have no first-round picks for the foreseeable future. They need those picks. So this was the only time they really could. So when you say, hey, you know what? We know he's going to go to the Knicks anyway. He wants to go to the Knicks. Sure. I think the Nets were in a position where they had to, but it was the best time to do it.
I think if you look at the New York Knicks right now, the Knicks are structured to win a championship. Now, is Tom Thibodeau going to get his extension? He wants one. He's come out and said that he wants an extension. Now that the Knicks signed OG Anunoby,
the Knicks players love him.
They do right now, but he's not a player's coach. You could see that on the side of the bench. The guy gets red when the team isn't playing well. He has his favorites, as we've seen over the years with Chicago and with the Timberwolves. This is a guy that has weighed out his welcome everywhere he's gone. Now, the New York Knicks had a very good season. The year before, there were questions if Tom Thibodeau was going to come back, if Leon Rose was going to look elsewhere.
When he was on Jalen Brunson's podcast, didn't sound like he was wearing out his welcome.
Yeah, listen, no player is going to come out and say, "Hey, you know what? We need to get rid of Tom." But
you know what? They're not going to have their coach on their personal podcast if they're kind of like on the fence about him.
Well, that's not true. And again, we've seen this before. 100% true. No, not at all.
You don't like the guy. Why are you going to have him on your own show?
How many podcasts I'm not going to mention any players, but there's a guy in Golden State that has a podcast. And he's had many different players on his show, players that played with him, and then Jordan Poole was on his show, okay? And meanwhile, these guys couldn't stand each other. So that's not true. You obviously, you're going to bring players on. It happens, man. It's a podcast, and that's what they're doing. They're promoting their product. If fans know they don't like each other, what do you think they're going to do? They're going to watch it, right? Right? That's what they're going to do. You think Jalen Brunson's going to go out there and say that he hates Tom Thibodeau? You think Josh Hart was it? No. So of course they're going to have him on the show. That's to me, that just sells to them that they trust in their coach, but not necessarily do. I mean, for instance, for years, the New York Knicks, how many coaches have the Knicks had? They had Jeff Hornacek. They had Fisher. We could go up and down the different Woodson. Yeah. They've had so many coaches.
He's probably been the best coach the Knicks have had easily the last 20 years.
Woodson.
No. Thibodeau.
No. He has been. And Tom Thibodeau's a good player's coach in certain ways. But on the basketball court, he's not a player's coach. He has his options. His options are set. And when he goes out there, he knows what his rotation's going to be. He's not going to change his rotation. Okay? Other coaches are different in the NBA.
But if you're winning, how much? I don't know. I think that's kind of a I understand the concept of overstaying your welcome, but I don't think it's as much of a thing when you're still winning. It becomes more when you're not. And as long as the Knicks are winning with Tom Thibodeau, the players aren't going to have a problem with him.
Let me ask you a question.
If they're ending their workday happy, he won't care.
Lyle, let me ask you a question. I'm going to sit here. What are they winning? What, because they have a winning record? Because they're going to the second round and they lose against Indiana? This is a team that's gone to back-to-back second-round appearances and have lost, okay? This is a team that cannot get into the Eastern Conference Finals. Could you name the last time the Knicks played in the Eastern Conference Finals?
98? 99?
99, 2000 was the last time they made an Eastern Conference Finals. This is a team that can't get there. And that's not winning. You look at the Celtics. The Celtics
but even
are
just getting there is not winning, though. Just because you get to the Eastern Conference Finals is not winning. But if you're one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference, they went from what, 5th to 2nd? If they are staying up there, they're going.
They had no business. The Knicks had no business being the second seed this year. No business. They lost, and I give this a lot of credit to.
I don't agree. I think if they were healthy, I think
yes,
very much are. But
if they were healthy, but they shouldn't have been there.
Go about you got to give coaching credit for getting them there when they had that many injuries.
Tom Thibodeau should have been coach of the year in my eyes.
But then you look at the team. The team definitely sees that and sees how good of a job he did to get him up there and get him up there. If he didn't do that, the team would have lost him, or he would have lost the team, and then they probably would have fallen lower in the standings. That's when he would have lost the team.
Again, when you have a talented player like Jalen Brunson, you're going to be in every single game. Okay, the Knicks were in every single game practically all season long. It had nothing to do with coaching. Listen, me and you can coach the team if you have the players around you. Okay, you run a rotation.
I don't believe that at all.
Oh, I do. Basketball is very easy. Very easy to coach. If you have two superstars, okay, do you want me to really get into depth on why I believe coaching means nothing in the NBA? I could tell you why.
Go for it. I think you're wrong.
Okay. Who was the coach for the Cleveland Cavaliers a couple of years ago when they beat Golden State in the finals?
That was not a couple of years ago.
That was a couple of years
ago. That was 8 years ago.
Who was their coach?
Jesus. I don't remember that.
Tyronn Lue, okay? Tyronn Lue. He's never coached in the NBA. He was an assistant coach his whole career.
I'm not going to remember.
Okay, you're not, but I'm going to tell you who he is. I'm going to tell you. He wasn't a good coach, okay? He took over a team because LeBron James said, I want him to coach. LeBron James is the coach. LeBron James wanted Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love to be on that team. They made a trade for Kevin Love, and there she goes. I could have coached that team, and they would have won, okay? They brought in J.R. Smith. They bring in pieces that worked with LeBron James, okay? Basketball is different. Hockey is different. You need a good coach that can run a good rotation of lines. In baseball, managers, you don't really need a manager. You really don't. All you need to a manager. The only reason why you need a manager on a baseball field is for relief pitching. That's it. Your rotation, are you going to tell your pitcher what he's going to throw every single player that he's going to come up to that's going to come up to the plate? No. You can't.
No, but yes.
You can't do. I'm just saying.
They're not going to tell them exactly what it is, but the pitching coach will work with them to study on the strengths and weaknesses of the players that they are playing against.
The two most important sports where you need coaching is hockey and football. Hockey and football. The other sports, you can win without it. Now, again, you're going to say that, well, look at Texas. There are coaches. There are managers.
Not in real football, not in European football.
I'm just saying, there are managers, okay, that can change a team. Like Bruce Bochy, he changed everything for Texas. Texas was a team and an organization that couldn't find a way to win. This is a guy that was a winner. Everywhere he went, he won. There are managers out there. There are significant managers, very small few, that know how to pull the right strings to make them better. Okay? There are managers that can do that, but very few. And baseball,
I don't agree that you don't need a manager. I don't agree with that at all. I think that's crazy talk.
That's
my opinion. I don't know. I don't think that. I think that, like, maybe there are sports that...
Do you think Alex Cora is a good manager? Boston Red Sox. You think Alex Cora is a good manager?
I'll say middle of the road. I don't think he's bad.
He's not a good manager.
I think you look at that Boston team, but you look at that Boston team and where they are, they should be lower. And I will definitely give him credit for having them where they are.
If you go up and down every single team in the MLB, there might be 5, maybe 6 managers that can help change a team's worth and where they're going to go throughout the season. Okay? There might be 5 or 6. The rest, no good.
I don't agree. And you know what? I can prove to you that a bad manager can ruin a team.
Really?
Yeah.
In baseball?
Yep.
So you're telling me Craig Counsell makes a big difference for the Chicago Cubs?
No, but I'm telling you, Aaron Boone is hurting that team. He is a major reason why. 100%.
Really? He's hurting
that team for the last 2 years, and he has been getting away with it.
Do you know that Aaron Boone has more wins than any Yankee manager in his 5-year stint with the Yankees in history?
So now you're going to sit here and give him the credit when you just said the manager don't matter.
No, I'm not giving him the credit. I'm telling you.
Here, you look at that team. You look at that team. You look at that team.
That's not true, Lyle.
You look at that team. You can. Most managers would probably have a similar statistic, but we'll take him from being a very, very good team to being a World Series winning team is going to be a good manager.
All right, Lyle, you give me a manager right now. You give me a manager right now that you would put behind the Yankees, put in the Yankees dugout that's going to make them a championship team today. Give me one. Give me one.
Who the hell is available?
Just give me one. Anybody that, even if just pretend that they're not available. I mean, they are available. Just pretend that they are available. Give me a manager right now that can make the Yankees a World Series champion. Right now. Give me one.
Honestly, I think anybody. I think Aaron Boone is absolutely terrible with the bullpen. I think he's very bad. I think he's done a very bad job. I think if we're talking about managers or coaches that have outstayed their welcome, I think
how many injuries did the Yankees have last year?
I don't think that's an excuse.
And I don't know how we got in from basketball to baseball, but I'm trying to. Yes,
you
it is.
You brought up Alex Cora.
44 injuries last year. They still made the playoffs. They still were one of the best teams in the American League.
The same exact thing you said earlier about the Knicks. And what did they win?
That's fine. Baseball is the hardest thing to win. I think baseball is the hardest thing to win when it comes to championships.
The Stanley Cup is harder.
I disagree.
You can disagree if you want to. You're wrong.
I disagree. Every single round of baseball, dude. Every single baseball round, you got to go through 7 games, except the wild card.
No,
it's 7 games.
Only 2 rounds. The wild card and NLDS is not 7.
I just said that.
No, you said the wild card.
The fact is,
the wild card and half of it is not. It's
all right.
3, 5, 7.
All right. Who was the best team in baseball last year?
Last year?
Yeah.
I would probably say the Dodgers.
The Dodgers. Did the Dodgers make the World Series?
No.
Okay. Now, let's go to hockey. Florida was one of the best teams in the NHL last year, were they not?
Yeah.
Okay. Were they in the finals?
Dodgers were one of the best teams in the MLB last year.
I just asked you. The Dodgers did not.
Florida wasn't one of the top. Oh, that's a terrible.
I'm telling you that.
That actually proves my point.
No, it doesn't.
Florida, 100% it does.
No, it doesn't.
100% it does.
It's harder for a championship, a top team to get to the World Series.
Florida was 5th.
You could be the most talented team and you can't get to the World Series. I've seen some of the most talented teams in the NHL.
Florida was 5th.
Right.
Florida was 5th in the NHL in points. You want to look at the NHL? When was the last time? When was the last time? Besides Colorado, they don't count because they were Colorado. When was the last time a President's Trophy team won the Stanley Cup besides Colorado? Because they were an anomaly.
The fact is, and what I'm trying to explain here is Florida was a lot of people.
No. I want you to answer my question.
No, it doesn't,
I'm not going to
Lyle, it doesn't. Dude, we've had so many NHL experts. Lyle, we've had a lot of NHL experts on the show. And they all said, even Neil Smith told us, he had Florida. He had Florida winning the whole thing. They went to the finals, they won the whole thing.
Answer my question. Before Colorado, when was the last time a President's Trophy team won the Stanley Cup?
I don't know, Lyle. I don't know off the head. What do you think?
I guarantee you we can go look and find more best teams in baseball since the last time before Colorado won the Stanley Cup. Before the last President's Trophy team before Colorado won the Stanley Cup. You go to the majors and look at the World Series winning teams from since then and have more that were one of the best teams in that league that have won the World Series.
Lyle, I am telling you right now, if you ask anybody, what is the hardest championship to
They'll
win?
tell you the Stanley Cup.
The World Series. No, it's not.
You're wrong.
It's the
You're
World
wrong.
Series.
You're wrong.
It's the World Series.
You're wrong.
What is the hardest thing to do in professional sports?
What?
What is the hardest thing to do in professional sports?
Win the Stanley Cup.
Hit a ball. Hit a ball.
Win the Stanley Cup. Win the Stanley Cup.
Hit a ball. Hit a ball.
Win the Stanley Cup.
Hit a ball.
Win the Stanley Cup.
3-mile-per-hour fastball coming at you. You think you can hit it? You think you can touch it? How about a slider that's going 93 miles per hour? You think you can touch it?
You know what? That does not mean that winning the World
A hot
Series.
goalie can win you a championship, can it not? You can have the best pitcher in baseball. If your team can't hit, you're not winning.
Nope. The Stanley Cup is 1,000% the hardest trophy to win in sports.
I disagree.
Like, you can disagree. You have that right. But the consensus against people in that know sports all say the Stanley Cup is the hardest trophy to win in sports. It is the most popular consensus.
Tell me.
And
I got a question for you. I got a question for you. When was the last baseball team to win back-to-back World Series?
Back-to-back.
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 Probably the Yankees.
When was that?
That would be 96, 90, 98, 90,
It was in the
99.
90s. It was in the 90s. It's
Another one, 98. They didn't win 97, so 98, 99. Yeah.
Okay. Tell me the last team to win back-to-back championships in the NHL.
It was Tampa. But then,
Tampa, and then before that,
it was Pittsburgh.
And before that?
Before Pittsburgh.
Didn't Chicago do it?
No. They did it every other year.
Okay, so you got two teams in the last 20 years.
I don't think that matters. I think
it
that's still
matter.
not.
What are you talking
I
about,
don't think
Lyle?
that's.
The last team to win back-to-back championships in baseball were in the 90s.
But that doesn't mean anything.
You just picked two teams in the NHL that's won it back-to-back years in the last 15 years.
But we can go and look at those years, and Pittsburgh wasn't one of the. The best team.
Lyle, come on. Lyle, stop.
The Stanley Cup is by far the hardest. Right. Okay, go ahead. Go prove to me the question I asked earlier. Go prove to me the question earlier I asked. Before Colorado, the teams that won the President's Trophy, when were the last ones to win the Cup? And you compare that to the same time as MLB, and it would be more teams in baseball that were the best team in baseball have won the World Series.
Lyle, who do you have winning the World Series this year?
This year?
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I'd probably go to Phillies.
Okay, let me tell you something. I predicted the last 3 years Stanley Cup champions, and I was right on all of them. Speedy, I'm not lying. The last 3 years I picked, before the season started, I look at the rosters, and during the season, I said, I'm sticking to my thing. I had Florida. I had Vegas. I went up and down those rosters when I now with baseball, I haven't gotten it right in 5 years. 5 years. Okay. Because you don't know who is going to get hot and who's going to get into the playoffs and have the hottest pitcher or make the trade for a pitcher that's going to change their rotation. You don't know.
I think that just means it's harder to predict baseball than it is to
batters are hot hitters in the regular season, and then they get into the playoffs, they can't hit at all.
There's players in hockey that get into the playoffs and they can't score.
Really? Yeah. I think you have a better chance. You see Connor McDavid fall apart in the playoffs at any point? Come on. Your best players are your best players.
That was actually a criticism.
Aaron Judge.
Now, hold on. We're going to go back to that question. Nope, we're going back to that question. That was a criticism of Connor McDavid after Game 7 that he didn't show up in Game 6 and 7.
Connor McDavid was the best player throughout the playoffs.
Okay, but that answered your question. You said, did he not show up at any point in the playoffs? And I said that was a criticism about him.
That's not what I meant, Lyle. Lyle, that's not what I meant.
You said words. I proved your words wrong.
I could say everything. I could tell you I'm not wearing any underwear. Would it matter?
Yeah,
would it matter?
I'm calling out
it's just words. I'm just telling you. I probably ain't. But hey, you know what? In my perspective, you can't honestly tell me that when you're going as a baseball team, you're going into the playoffs, there's guarantees. Look at it. Baltimore was expected. A lot of people thought Baltimore was going to the World Series last year. They couldn't even get out of the wild card series. They didn't even get out of the wild card series. They lost in the wild card. All right? Did anybody think Texas was going to go to the World Series last year? The only person that did.
I would say after they got. I would say after they got.
That was the only. Actually, last year was the only year. Throughout the season, I was wrong, but before the playoffs, I went back on it and I said Texas is going to win the World Series. That was the only. Last year was the only year that I was right.
I would say once they got Scherzer, a lot of people thought they would have won the World Series.
I didn't think Scherzer was going to make a difference. I didn't think it was Scherzer.
I think once that trade happened, that's probably a lot of people probably picked them.
I didn't think Scherzer was going to make a difference, and he didn't make a difference to that team. He didn't.
Oh, I'm not saying he did. I'm saying people.
The guy sucked. The guy sucked. Okay.
He did. But I'm not saying that means people didn't pick them to win after that trade. People don't predict him what he's.
Now let's get back to basketball because I'm going to get back to basketball. In basketball, you do not need a top coach to win a championship. You don't. You need two great players, dominant players. And if you have the best player in the world, you even have a better chance of winning. Now, everybody's going to say, well, what about Phil Jackson? Michael Jordan never won until Phil Jackson. You're absolutely right. There are coaches that can change things, but it's a rarity. It is a rarity, okay? LeBron James, when he won his championships, did he really have good coaches? Honestly, if you look at the rosters of the Cavaliers, the Cavaliers with Tyrone.
Well, I don't think it's fair to use LeBron as the example. Because LeBron
Okay, give me another team. Give me another team. Do you think Nurse is a good coach? Do you think Nurse is a good coach?
Maybe middle of the road.
He won a championship because they made a trade for Kawhi Leonard. Do you think they win without Kawhi Leonard? Yes or no?
No, but come on, you can say that about somebody do the Islanders win the Stanley Cup in 1980 if they don't trade for Butch Goring? Probably not. That doesn't mean Al Arbor wasn't a good coach then.
I disagree. I disagree. How could you say that? Dude, that roster was good. That roster was good even without Butch Goring. Okay? They were going to win without Butch Goring. Goring was a big part.
Goring was
a big part. He was a big part when they made that trade.
Butch Goring was the final piece of that puzzle.
I disagree.
Sure. You're disagreeing with fact. Okay.
I disagree.
You're disagreeing with fact. But you can say that about a lot of teams. You can say that about a lot of teams.
Did Butch Goring put in 50 goals this season like Mike Bossy? Did he?
No.
Let's just go. Did he stop the pucks like Billy?
He was the final piece of that puzzle to win the. I'm sorry. Hold on. We're going back to what you said because that was the point.
Telling me Al Arbor was a great coach. Do they win without Al Arbor? Probably not. But that's hockey's different. I said hockey and football.
You made an example about trading for a player at the deadline. I made an example about trading for a player at the deadline. You could say that about almost every single team that has ever won a championship that find a player they got deadline and take them away, and the chances of them winning go down. That is a terrible, terrible reason to, or example to use to prove your point.
I'm not using anything. I'm telling you,
I'm going back to
coaching, Lyle. I'm going back to coaching, Lyle. I'm telling you that in baseball and hockey, I'm not baseball, football and hockey are the only two sports that you really need good coaching to help you win. The other sports, you have the right players and you have the right rosters and you put the right guys together at the trade deadline. You bring in the right guys to fill in spots that you need to fill in. You're going to win. Yeah, you don't agree?
I don't agree.
Texas made big moves at the
you need a competent manager in every sport.
I disagree. As far as the Knicks are concerned, Mikal Bridges was a big pickup. I think that the Knicks have a very good chance if they stay healthy. Julius Randle needs to stay healthy. A lot of people thought after they made that move for Mikal Bridges, they were going to trade Julius Randle in the draft. They're not. They have enough depth now. You had Mikal Bridges, Julius Randle. You have guys that can come off the bench, give you enough offense. The problem with the Knicks in the playoffs, they had too many injuries, and then when they needed that offense stability, they didn't have it because they were injured. Now, bringing in Mikal Bridges, if Julius Randle goes down, they got a guy that can fill in right away. They did lose Harnstein. Harnstein took $29 million. I think listen, I'm not going to knock a guy that wanted to make the money. Harnstein, he gives them that tenacious defense and that tenacious rebounding. Is it going to hurt the Knicks? No, because they brought in Mikal Bridges, who's a good rebounder, who's a better defender, who can defend multiple positions. Harnstein could only defend the 5. He couldn't defend the 4s because the 4s were too athletic. So I think that the Knicks are better than they were going into this coming season. And I think that the Knicks are even more dangerous and are expected to be one of the top 4 teams. If you look at Vegas, they went from 12th, a team they were looked at. Vegas had them at like 12th to win a championship. Now they move all the way up to 4 or 5. So the Knicks jumped 6 or 7 spots just off that Mikal Bridges move. I think it was a great move. They added the depth that they needed. I think they had a good draft. In the second round, they brought in 2 players that could fill in the guard positions. And I think with all the weapons that the Knicks have, I think they have a very good chance with health to knock off the Celtics. They match up very well against the Celtics. They have guys that can defend the wing.
We don't know how well they match up against.
They match up very well. Well, just think about it.
We have to see. Well, the roster is different, so we have to see how they would.
What was the Knicks record against the Celtics this year in the regular season?
That was last year.
What was the Knicks record?
They had some different players. Adding Mikal Bridges is different. I think they very much can beat them. But to say that they match up well when we haven't seen it yet is going too far. I don't think you can say that yet without them having actually played yet.
All right, so let's get into some football. Haasan Reddick has not shown up to non-mandatory or even now mandatory practices and training.
And he's not in Egypt.
And he did promise the New York Jets, if the Jets traded for him, that he was going to be there for the whole season, even mandatory and non-mandatory workouts. He lied to the Jets. The Jets made the trade. He wanted to get out of Philadelphia, and now he's sitting pretty, waiting for the Jets to offer him a big-time contract. Joe Douglas is not going to extend him until he sees how he fits in this Robert Saleh defense. Now, remember, he's coming from a 4-3 defense. He's moving to a 3-4 defense. We'll see how that works. In this style of defense, is it going to work? Remember, Haasan Reddick, it didn't work with the Lions. Detroit, he really wasn't that good pass rusher. It took him to go to Philadelphia and play a different style of defense to really perform the way he did over the last couple of years. Haasan Reddick is one of the best pass rushers in the league. The Jets haven't had a pass rusher.
The Jets haven't had. It took him to go to a team that had one of the best defensive lines in football to also help him and open up space. So, the Jets do have that, though. So, yes, it's a different system. So, it could take him a few games to figure it out. But, when you have that much natural talent and you still have that good of a defensive line in front of him.
But are you going to pay a guy? Are you going to pay a guy $130 million to guess?
No, absolutely not. But at the same time, that's what it is with every free agent you sign. You don't know how they're going to fit on your team yet.
The Jets have control of it. And I think if Haasan Reddick wants that contract, I think the Jets are willing to give it to him. He needs to prove that he fits over there in the culture that the Jets like. Remember, he didn't get along with anybody in the locker room with Philadelphia. That was why Philadelphia kind of ran him out. He had problems in the locker room during the playoffs, and maybe that was probably why the offense and the defense weren't getting along. There was a lot of stories coming out that Haasan Reddick was trying to cause problems with the defense and the offense, and that's why they were trying to run him out. Now, I think he's better than Bryce Huff. There's no question that he is. Yeah. He gives them a different, tenacious opportunity where the Jets can move them all over from one side to the other. I think Johnson and him are going to be a dynamic duo on both sides of the line. They're both very athletic. They can do a lot of different things that one another can't do. I think that this defense, and if you look at the PPRs right now, they have the Jets being the number one defense in all of the league. You're talking about San Francisco. You're talking about the Browns this year. That was the best defense in the league. They're saying that the Jets, in a PPR, thought is that the Jets are going to be the best defense in the league this year if they're fully healthy. So, and here's another thing to look at this whole Haasan Reddick thing. If Haasan Reddick decides to sit and come in week 2 or week 3 because he needs to make that money and he needs to prove himself, he didn't have an off season. So now he's jet lagging back. He's jet lagging back, and it might take him to week 8 or week 9 or maybe even week 10 to figure things out. That sets the Jets back. Yes. So was this a good move for the Jets to make a move like this and take a chance on a Haasan Reddick? There's a lot of questions here, and Joe Douglas is going to have to answer to it if he doesn't show up to training camp at one way or another.
I fully agree. I also think it's a bad look for Joe Douglas, trading for a guy who was in this position when you have to know that there's a chance he could hold out when you could have just signed Bryce Huff and been okay with it. I think it makes it, especially if he does go into the season, it really is a bad look for Joe Douglas.
Oh, it does. And Joe Douglas, as of right now, the whole Zach Wilson thing was a bad look for him. This is a make or break year for him and Robert Saleh. I could see Robert Saleh getting fired at the end of the year if this team don't make the playoffs. And Joe Douglas, I don't know if he gets fired, but it'll be a very hot seat because right now, I think the Jets had a very good draft, but they got to prove themselves. Yeah. We don't know what these guys are going to turn out to be until they step on a football field and show themselves. And is Aaron Rodgers going to be 100% healthy this year? He played 4 plays last year, and he was out for the season with an Achilles. Now, we have seen this before in football and basketball. When you tear your Achilles, your knee goes after that. So that's what worries me about Aaron Rodgers. You remember they play on the worst turf in all of football. Everybody's complained about MetLife, how bad it is. And now,
hold on, they did change it to grass for Copa America.
They did it. Are they changing it? Are they changing it for the full season for the NFL
I don't know.
Season?
But that does not seem. That seems very, very weird for them to just change it for that and then take it all away again. Like financially, wouldn't you want to just keep it then for a whole year, then do it next year?
The Jets are very. The Jets are very unique organization. But here's the thing: if the
World Cup comes in a couple of years, they need to have the grass. They need to have
I agree with
grass.
you. I agree with you. But the Jets and the Giants have to agree to it. And if both organizations aren't going to agree to it, they're going to have to change it. So, and I think it's going back to turf. I think it's staying. It's going to be turf this year.
I hope not, but we'll see.
It would worry me. And right now, everything lies on Aaron Rodgers' arm. Everything relies on Aaron Rodgers' legs this year. If they can hold up and get this team. Are the Jets capable of beating Kansas City this year? Absolutely. I think if there's any team...
They almost beat them with fucking Zach Wilson.
Yes. If there's any team that could beat Kansas City in the playoffs right now with their roster, it's the Jets. Not saying this is a Jet fan. The Jets roster is better than the Kansas City Chiefs. I believe that. I think their roster is better. But is Aaron Rodgers the same quarterback? Is Aaron Rodgers going to go out there and do what he did over there in Green Bay with a better...
I don't think he needs to be that. I think he just needs to be 2/3 of that same quarterback.
I disagree. I think you need Aaron Rodgers to be at the top of the game.
I can prove it to you.
Prove it.
Look what Denver did with Peyton Manning his last year. He couldn't throw a goddamn football. You're gonna tell me right now that if you have 2/3 of Aaron Rodgers at his best playing for the Jets with the Jets defense healthy, that they can't end up winning the Super Bowl?
No, because right now, if you look at Kansas City, they're a completely different beast. They're different than what Carolina was. Carolina, to me, yeah, they had a great record that year. I think they were 15-1 or 14-2 or something like that. They had a crazy record. But I never thought Carolina was going to win the Super Bowl because I never trusted in Cam Newton. Patrick Mahomes, you know that if he's going to the Super Bowl, they have by all accounts an 85% chance of winning no matter what. So to me, it's a different beast. It's a different game. You can't really compare the Broncos to where the Jets are going into the season against a beast of a team like Kansas City, who, by the way, added a wide receiver who's probably the fastest wide receiver to come out of the combine, okay, and Worthy. I think Buffalo gave him another weapon. Remember, Buffalo has pretty much handed Patrick Mahomes to the Kansas City Chiefs. Now they handed Xavier Worthy, who's one of the fastest guys I've ever seen. I mean, they're pretty much saying, here, you want to win another Super Bowl? You want to be the first team to win back-to-back Super Bowls? Here's your chance, boys. Here's your chance. And to me, the only team in the AFC that has any chance, if healthy, to beat Kansas City right now, I would say two teams. I'm going to put two teams. I'm going to say Baltimore, because I think they added some good weapons. They had a Queen and everybody. I think they're even a better defense than they were last year. And I think the Jets. I don't think Miami is better than they were last year. I don't care if they added Odell Beckham. I don't think they're better. I mean, if you look at Pittsburgh, I like Pittsburgh. I think Pittsburgh's great. I don't trust Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. It's going to take him a while to take over that spot, even if Russell Wilson eventually loses the team. So I don't think that. And I think the Browns, even though I like Deshaun Watson, I think he's a shell of who he was when he was with the Texans. So I don't think that division's the best division in football. And in Cincinnati, Joe Burrow is great, but is Joe Burrow going to stay healthy? That's the question. And the guy has been in the league for 4 years, and he's been unhealthy for 2 out of the 4. I don't know if he's going to be healthy. So I can't trust that. So, and the other divisions, I like Indianapolis. They're good. They have Richardson. He's coming off a shoulder injury. I have to see. I like CJ Stroud. He's going into a sophomore year. Is he going to do what he did last year in his rookie season? I don't. Trevor Lawrence fan. So if you go up and down these rosters and everything like that, I just don't know if anybody in the AFC besides Baltimore and the Jets can challenge them. So, honestly, the Jets have the best chance of winning a Super Bowl, knocking off the team that everybody thinks is going to win 3 Super Bowls in a row. But it all really stems to Aaron Rodgers and how healthy he is, and if he's going to stay healthy the whole season. Because even with Tyrod Taylor, I still don't know if the Jets roster is good enough without Aaron Rodgers to knock off Patrick Mahomes.
I disagree. I think that if Aaron Rodgers is 2/3 of the quarterback he was at Green Bay, the Jets are plenty good enough around him in order to win the Super Bowl. I think the defense is historically good.
I disagree.
And I think that they can. Hey, you know what? You look at what I think that if that happens, then Denver is from 2016 is probably.
The Jets are going into the season confident. There's the problem with the Jets, and here's the problem with the Jet fans. Okay, and I'm a Jet fan. The Jets think because everybody's saying their defense is going to be the best, that all of a sudden they're going to be the best. You don't know, and that's the problem with the players. You have all these conceited, egotistical players on your roster that think they're going to be that good.
That comes from the coach.
Well, I'm not a big fan.
I do think that Saleh is a little egotistical, and I think that does rub off on the players.
He's a crappy coach. I think he's crappy. I think if the Jets are going to win, they're not going to win because of him. Aaron Rodgers is going to have to be the coach. He's going to have to be everything. He's going to have to be out there seeing and putting up those numbers, because the defense I expect to show up. I do. I think they have a great defensive coordinator. I think he's going to get a coaching job after this year. I think they have a great defensive coordinator.
I hope not, but
I think if
think he does.
I think he's going to get a job no matter what. He
He
almost
will,
got a job.
but I hope not.
Well, he is. Now we'll finish up with the Islanders and the Rangers. We have a couple more minutes. Your thoughts to the Islanders move for Anthony Duclair and what the Islanders did.
You look at what the Islanders are setting up for to be going into next season. Last year they finished 21st in the league in goals for, and if you add Anthony Duclair, I'll be generous, okay? Or actually, I'll be on the lower side. If we give, say, Anthony Duclair, he scores 25 this year, and then the other player they signed, Maxim Tipsikov, say he scores 15. Okay, he's going to be in the top 9. He's going to be on the roster this year. He did not come from the KHL to sit around and do nothing.
He's going to have more than 15 goals. I think he has.
Well, I'm using the minimum for him because we don't know. So say that he scores 15. Okay, that's adding 40 goals. And if you add that onto their total from last year, they finished 6th in the NHL in goal scoring. Now, if you look at the New York Islanders, and the biggest issue they had last year, it was the amount of points they gave up after having a lead at some point in the second or third period. And that's really where they're going to need Patrick Roy to fix this team and fix the defensive structure and fix the penalty kill. If they can do that, I believe that will have a trickle-down effect and help Sorokin with his confidence. And I do believe the New York Islanders will be a team that will be extremely good. I think that if he can fix that, and that's the biggest question. For me, it's not goal scoring. It's can the coach fix what the last coach ruined? And I think that he can. He's going to be bringing in his own guys. He's going to have a full training camp to go over with everything with them. If there's anyone that I fully believe that can fix this right now, it's Patrick Roy.
Okay. I will make it short and sweet with the New York Islanders. I am a firm believer in Patrick Roy. Okay. I do not believe Sorokin is going to have anywhere close to the season he had just past year. I think he'll be back in the top 5 goalies in the league. I think he's a great goaltender. He needs to stop. Patrick Roy needs to stop with this Varlamov thing. This is your goaltender. This is the guy.
To be fair to Patrick Roy, in that situation, if they continued with Sorokin towards the end of the year, they were probably not going to make the playoffs because he was not playing good enough to get them there. And Varlamov was.
This is your future. This guy's your future. This is the guy that's
going to be Sorokin starting. Next year, they're going to be going into the year with Sorokin as the number 1, 100%.
Now, I'm not a big fan of Anthony Duclair. I think he's a good two-way player. I wanted to see them add a big-time goal scorer. They couldn't pry anybody away. I like the kid that they drafted. I can't believe he was sitting there at 20. But I like the kid. I think this kid could be a 40-goal scorer. Now, we said that about a player, Oliver Wahlstrom. Oliver Wahlstrom didn't develop, but this kid
I never said that.
I liked Oliver Wahlstrom. A lot of people liked Oliver Wahlstrom. This guy was the best American goal scorer to come out of the junior American hockey team ever. This guy outscored Patrick Kane. This guy outscored everybody. This guy he has great hands. The problem with him is his skating. He's not the fastest skater. Now, he could develop his skating. So did John.
No, the problem with him is defensively. His skating is not an issue for him. His issue is his defensive ability and his hockey sense. That is where
but that could be developed. I think he's got
100% can be. Go look at Mike Bossy when that was a similar question for him coming out of when he came out of the WHL. He got drafted and that was a similar question for him. That they thought that they looked at his defensive game and they thought that was an issue. And when you have a player like that and they're going to be getting two out of the 3 of their zone starts are going to be in the offensive zone.
Lyle, I couldn't believe he was sitting there. Okay, I can't believe he felt it.
Most people thought that he would have went earlier. Yes,
earlier, dude. There were a list of guys that I was following that had him in the top 10.
I saw a couple that had him in the top 10. I saw a couple that had him at around 15. I saw him going anywhere between 8 to 16.
I think the Islanders had a very good draft. I think they
I don't think it was a bad draft at all. And they did the right thing.
I think the Islanders had a good draft.
I thought the Rangers had a good draft.
I think the Rangers and the Islanders had very good drafts. Thank God that, because I was hearing stories that Lou was going to trade that pick. I would have freaking had a heart attack if he did that. Okay, I think that the fact that they got Yzerman over there, I think that kid is going to be special. I think he's going to be a big factor in the future of where this team is. I think that he could be the future line mate for Barzal. So I mean, this is a guy that I think is going to be a big factor moving forward. As far as the Rangers are concerned, I wasn't impressed with some of the moves that they made. I mean, they made a couple of moves. I'm trying to pull up.
You got Riley Smith, who he'll be a
good part of the team. He was a part of the team, wasn't he?
No, he wasn't trade for him.
What,
Riley Smith. You trade for Riley Smith.
Right, the defenseman, right?
No, he's a winger.
Okay, so it wasn't the same.
You were thinking you're confusing him with Mike Riley. Probably.
Was I? It was Smith. It was somebody. It was
used to have a different Smith, Brandon Smith.
Yeah.
But
yes,
no,
defenseman.
Yeah, they used to have Brandon Smith, but no, they brought in Riley Smith. He's mid-30s, but he'll probably be third line right wing. He's good depth, but he's not really what they need. And I said it before, last few times we did shows and talked about it, and they need like a number one center. That's really what I think they really lack. I've never been.
Dude, they don't grow on trees.
No, they don't. But I've never been a fan of Mika as a center. I've always felt like his game is better for a winger. And I think that if they could get a number one center and move him to the wing, I think that's really the route to go. If they can find a way, and they can't do anything until they trade Trouba, because they have no cap space, and then they have to hold on to cap space for next season, where they have more guys they have to re-sign. So they're kind of in a hole right now until they can.
I don't think centers grow on trees. That's why the Islanders have a bunch of them. I think the Islanders should look to move one of them. I know they won't trade with the Rangers, but JG Pajot is a guy that I would trade if I were the Islanders
I'm not trading him under any circumstance. Under any circumstance, if I am doing everything in my power to move Brock Nelson. His contract is over at the end of the year. He's older than Pajot, and he's easier to replace. What Pajot brings to you on that team when you are in the playoffs is extremely difficult to find. He's a guy who
he don't score.
He's a third line center.
He doesn't score, Lyle.
He's a third line center. It's not his job.
Guys, what does he make?
Make 5.
I disagree.
But that's not his job. You
didn't
pay him.
I think
pay him $5
this is a guy that came from Ottawa. This is a guy that came from Ottawa that was scoring 20 goals a season.
No, he's there 1 year.
He was scoring 20 goals.
He did that 1 year. That was the year they got him.
But dude, he can score goals. Go ahead, bring it up. I'm not even looking at it.
No. Let me finish talking. They did not pay him that money to be a goal scorer. They paid him that money to be the guy that goes out there and matches up against the other team's goal scorer and plays him defensively, wins the faceoff, gets possession for the team, wins the faceoff on the power play. That's what they are paying him $5 million for. And what he brings to this team, you can't go look at the stat sheet and try and find. Taking him away from this roster and going into the playoffs is a big mistake. Brock Nelson is he's a few years older. He's around 33, 34. Trading him is a much easier path. It's easier to trade Brock Nelson, move over.
You want to trade the best offensive player you have for the last 3 years.
It's easier to replace him because you'll have.
How is it easier to replace him? Who do you have to replace him? Who do you have to replace him?
You would move Barzal or that.
Barzal is not a center. He's proven not to be a center. He's not a center.
Well,
he's a winger.
He's a guy who you put him at number 2 center. I think he's the guy who would fit. He would go back to center very well.
So you're going to take him off of Bo Horvat's line to do that?
Yes,
I think you're nuts.
Yes. I think it's much easier to to replace the goals from Brock Nelson and put it on the wing than to replace what Pajot does. What Pajot will bring if you go to the playoffs, and most fans, they don't see it. They look at stats, and it's hard to see. But seeing what he's the type of guy who goes out there and does for you, it's you need him. You can't get rid of him. It's a big mistake if they dump him.
I disagree. And
what else is there to disagree what I have to say? But
I disagree.
I know I'm right.
I know you're wrong. I'm keeping.
I know you're wrong too. And I know if you say anything, I'm just gonna smile and laugh.
All right. So why don't you put it up? Put it up on your post on X. Who would you rather trade? Jay-Z?
I don't care what they have to say.
I do. I don't care what some fucking idiot on Twitter has to say. I care about what people who post it up on Facebook.
They're even dumber. You're on Facebook. I don't care what they have to say. Huh?
I'll post it.
Go for it.
I'll post
what that poll shows won't mean anything to me. Because majority of fans, hold on, I'm not done. Majority of fans look at stats. They don't look at what players actually do on the ice. They don't. Most fans don't.
So you're telling me who actually was a hockey player. You're going to tell me that Jay-Z Pajot is a better player and a better option than Brock Nelson.
I said Pajot is more needed for this team than Brock Nelson.
Disagree.
Getting a winger for that $6 million that he makes would be easier than replacing what Pajot does. Replacing the guy that can go up against the top lines in the NHL is very hard to do, and that's his role. It's very difficult to replace what he does.
We're going to have to get back into this next week, okay? Because I disagree with you so cold-heartedly.
You disagree with me. I know I'm right.
You're wrong.
I'm right.
How could you say you're right when you're wrong?
I'm right.
You're right. Of course. Lyle, I love you, man. Anyways,
right.
You could check us out every single Monday, the Cross Island Podcast. We're all over. Check out some of the clips that Lyle posts up all over social media. Again, we'll be back on Monday at 7 o'clock. I know it's been a little while since I've been here. It's been a little busy for me. It's the summertime, but as you can see, I'm outside. But happy to be here, and I'm happy to be your partner in crime. Lyle, have anything to say before we go?
Yes. Congratulations to Zach Wilson and his new fiance.
That's what you're going to congratulate? God almighty. Zach Wilson getting married. How wonderful.
He hasn't gotten married yet. Don't jinx it, okay?
He's getting married. And he can take. Did you see that ring, by the way? He must have
thanked
her.
First off, if we're talking about the professional athletes' girlfriends or wives,
he must have paid her.
Noah Dobson's girlfriend is smoking hot.
Who cares? I mean, look at the ring he gave her. I mean, any woman would have said yes if they saw the ring that he gave her.
Probably. But you know what? In 10 years, when he's coaching a high school team, will matter.
I guess you're right. Anyways, Lyle, it's been great. I guess we'll speak next week.
Don't threaten me with a good time.
Cross Island. Good night, everybody.